All right, guys, welcome back. We are now 10 weeks out from the New York Pro. If this is your first time tuning in, I am IFBB Pro John Jewett, and I'm just taking you through my vlog of my diet and training, and have Matt Jansen on board explaining also his side of coaching. So for this episode, we're just going to give you diet updates. Also Matt, he's going to be giving a lot of the diet feedback and go into refeeds, and then I'm going to lead y'all through one of my heavier back training workouts. So for this week, if you saw last week, I got some refeed meals in and it had a really good impact. So I was around 234 last week, and we did 2 refeed days on Wednesday and a Thursday, and that brought me up to 234.6. So Matt didn't feed me too hard. It just brought me up a little bit, got some fullness and performance came back. Well, that really sped me up. I don't want to say metabolism wise, but it just caused me to kind of like break through and really drop some good weight. And I ended up dropping consistently every day until Tuesday of this week, and I was down to 231.6. So that was a weight low for me. So that's when performance was starting to drop a little bit. Definitely pumps were, I'd say, more mild to moderate. So it's just kind of showing you the level of depletion that's there. I'm not like the flattest I've ever been by any means, but it's still noticeable. So you can see I'll show you the pictures here this morning when I was at 231.6. You can see I'm a little bit flatter in that mid back area. So, and regarding hunger and everything this week, this diet's very, very manageable. So I mean, I get hungry when it's time to eat, but it's nothing severe. And for, like I said, performance is still kind of there, so it's not really that bad for being 10 weeks out. But anyway, I had my 2 refeed days this week, and that brought my weight up to 234.2. So really close to what it was last week with the refeeds. So what's kind of neat to see is that since we're so consistent, my sleep's so consistent, and when I eat, is that you can start to get some predictability out of your refeeds. So it's important, like when you have someone coaching you, that you do exactly what they say, and you're also consistent with what you do. So you can have a diet and training plan, you can hit it right on. But if you're not consistent with it as far as timing of things, like that still might not be following the plan, even though to some you might say you were. And also, I think sleep goes into this a lot, being predictable, because if your times you're going to sleep and waking up are different, the duration of sleep, the quality of sleep, all that's going to depend on what type of changes you're seeing, or if you're seeing change at all. I've seen sleep and stress enough, be bad enough to where you have people that aren't dropping body fat just because of that. So really would emphasize, just my little, getting off on a tangent here on proper sleep during prep, and at some point it will get really hindered, but do everything you can, to get good quality sleep. Try to make sure if you are taking stimulants, take them early. Make sure like you don't have electronics in your room. Like for my bedroom, I don't have a TV in there. I don't want to do anything like that. When I go to bed, it's focused, since it's time for sleep. But anyway, got into these refeed days and brought me up to 234.2. So I was a little less than what the refeed days were last week, and that kind of makes sense because I was coming from a lower body weight. And now where I'm at is I'm a couple days past those refeeds. So that was a Wednesday and Thursday, and this morning I was 233.2, being right at 10 weeks out, and it's almost right on with what it was last week. So this is pretty predictable, and so I expect by midweek I should hit a new body weight low. And I think just keeping in that mind that I do have a weight to meet, and so we're keeping on track for that. And right now is close to about 20 pounds before we make weight. But stay tuned. I will be we'll go through a back workout, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Matt, and he can give you all the refeed updates and give you kind of the coaching side of it.
What's up, guys? John is now 10 weeks out, and last week I was not able to make it. I was at the Arnold, but John did an awesome job of explaining the changes and why we made the changes, and I do want to go into a little bit more detail just so you guys see my perspective on things. But that's one of the things that I've enjoyed with John since we started working initially, is that he is very, very knowledgeable. And even without me having to explain every detail, as you guys saw in that video, there was things that I didn't necessarily tell him that he just picked up on, which is it's encouraging for me to actually see somebody get the whole process, and not just follow, but also understand the reasonings for why we're doing what we're doing. So that was cool for me to see. But so basically last week, as John had mentioned, we had a few different changes, a few positive things were happening. I noticed that his weight was starting to go. And also I've seen through his Instagram and through the videos that he's been putting out just how intensive his therapy sessions have been. So my first thought process was, well, we need to kind of do something in terms of pull back on the deficit, because if he's having to go through these intensive sessions, my first thought was, let's pull back on cardio first, keep the diet as is, and then go from there. So that worked very well. He continued to lose weight, and then as he also mentioned, we went into a refeed. And I wanted to touch on the refeeds because typically, again, this is all correlating down to a goal. This is all having to be viewed through the eyes of that we have to make that weight. So in a broader spectrum, if John was simply just prepping just for a look, I probably would have started him out on a little bit of a bigger refeed, because I do like to kind of view the glass as half full, not half empty, and try to feed somebody as much as I can, and then get the response, and then adjust the next refeed accordingly. If it worked well, great, let's keep it the same. If they gained a little bit too much weight and their weight loss slowed throughout the week, then I'll pull back next time. Or if they didn't really gain enough weight at all and their weight loss just picked right back up, then I'll add a little bit more food. But in John's, where John's at right now, I wanted to just ease into the refeed, because I don't think that he's as depleted now as he will be at one point in prep. So that was one thought process. And two, I didn't want to necessarily, quote unquote, shoot ourselves in the foot. And being that I also pulled back on cardio, maybe the residual effects of pulling back on the cardio hadn't fully caught up yet. So I didn't want to throw too much food at him where it kind of stalled out for a week. But what we did is I gave him 180 grams of carbs. And with me too, I would rather feed somebody for several days at a little bit lower amount of food than feed them a lot one day and have their digestion slowed, have them, kind of have a hard time getting the food down, or their digestion, not be on point. And then from there, it just kind of mess up the week. So the 180 grams of carbs worked very, very well. We ended up doing that for 2 days last week. And then, just in this week, I think his last day last week was Friday. And then he refed again starting this Wednesday. So there was only a 5-day gap in between refeeds there. And then we refed again Wednesday and Thursday. And now today he's back to his low day. So thus far, these refeeds are working very well. And again, it's very moderate. But the reason why is because I want him to be able to get that refeed response without slowing down the weight loss. Kind of momentarily stall it per se, but then just have it pick right back up. In the sense that I also do want to get a positive effect from it. Like if John wasn't feeling anything off these refeeds, that would be a reason to bump it up some. But he is getting not only a visual response, but a training response as well. So that's two of the things that I'm looking for. And just like John said, one of the biggest things that I look for right now, at least at this point in his prep, is when I'm looking at pictures, when I'm viewing pictures and trying to assess flat versus full, I always go right to his mid-back. And that's something that we've done since 2015. When his mid-back really starts to fade, that to me is a sign that he needs to eat. So again, even just within the pictures that he posted from last week, from the day that he started his refeed to the second day that he was now in a refeed to the third day of his second refeed, you could see a gradual change throughout the mid-back in all those pictures. And that's, that's something that I look for. So with you guys, whether you're coaching or you're an athlete yourself, know those spots for you that go flat the quickest. And that's what you need to judge, in terms of how successful a refeed is, or when you might need a refeed at all. Don't look at the body parts that stay full, regardless, because that's not going to be the truest sign of where your true levels of flatness are. So just keep that in mind. But I'm very, very happy where he's at this point of prep. I can't. it's hard to say that I think to this point, it's been a pretty flawless prep. And I'm happy with not only how he's responding, but you know, we started out this prep where he was actually, I wanted to kind of bring his body back to life, and now it's like things are really, really clicking well. His pictures look great. You know, I'm really happy where his body fat levels are at, how his body fat is responding on a weekly basis and coming down. So everything's going really well. You know, he's putting out so much good content for you guys just to learn from too. So just make sure that you guys continue to follow along. We'll continue to push this out, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the final result is.
At the Muscle Factory day, it's one of my back days. First 3 compound moves are going to be a T-bar row, wide grip pull down, and then a rack pulls. So a lot of this, building this workout was with the thought that I'm going to be doing rack pulls today. So first exercise, looking for something that can warm up the entire back, and T-bar rows, chest support is going to be a good option. That way it doesn't tax my lower back for when I do go to rack pulls. And then also doing a pull down as well to help get some good lat contraction before moving into it. So let's get started. So just warming up, I'll just gotta keep adding a plate on until I get up to a hard set of 8. I like these, and you see a lot of people do them wrong, really leaning back, using a lot of your spinal erectors to get the motion going. You really just need to push your chest into the pad and completely relax so you're not using any momentum to get it up, and focus on driving the elbows all the way back as much as you can. Going to my first work set. Again, just trying to keep it strict and not bring my chest off the pad and drive the elbows back hard. For head position, try to keep a neutral spine in it, so you don't want to be looking way up or also bring your head down. You bring your head down, your scapulas move up. It takes a lot of the lat out of the motion, so make sure you keep your lats retracted and depressed down. So just warming up on these pull downs. Form-wise on these, trying to eliminate torso swing completely. So you might want to lean back 15 degrees, but lock that in place. Any further back, you're going to start using more teres major and traps, opposed to trying to hit those lower lat fibers, what I'm aiming for. The mag grip, the wide grip, it works really well. So your elbow feels like it's about to touch it. It's not even close to touching the hip, but you get a very strong lat contraction the way mechanically it's set up. So just keep warming up, and then we'll get up to about a set of 8 to 10 again, and back off weight and hit a set of 12 to 15. That was 230, so I've dropped down to 180, so it's about a 20% drop. Going to the second set, try to hit something above 10 reps. moving into rack pulls. Back's pretty warm. I'll start out light, just go up slow, make sure it feels smooth, just get my lower back, glutes, hams kind of warmed up too. And again, same thing I'm doing here, I'm going up to like set of 6 to 8, and then backing off and away and hitting a set of like maybe 10 to 12 in the last one. The setup on these is definitely set up with the bar right below the knee. There's so many people that set these up really high, and you can use a lot of weight doing it that way, but you still need enough range of motion to make a good impact, but not go so low where you're bringing a lot of leg into it, because we do want this emphasis to be on our back. Big no-nos are bouncing off the pins. I see guys that just bring down and slam it so hard on the pins. You bounce the bar up and half of it's, you know, already done for you, then you're finishing off with momentum. The idea is to work the back. So you want to start with it right off the bat from using the back as movers. So let it come to a slight rest, at least somewhat. And then a good thing, the main thing too, is also having the right setup to begin with, as far as bar height goes. So just keep warming up, going plate, plate, plate till I get up to something heavy. So to initiate the movement, it's help people get their hips down and chest up. That'll help keep that scapula depressed and retracted to get a lot of lat involved. And also pull the bar into you. Pull the bar in, you're getting that elbow close to the hip. That's when you're going to get a lot of lat involved, and pull and start it and get good tension throughout the lats, opposed to letting the shoulders round over. You don't get a lot of back in it, puts a lot in the skeletal structure, and you're having to use a lot of lower back to get it up. That was good. I hit this like 3 weeks ago. This is also, you know, post my injury as well. I still hit 9 reps. Last time I hit 8 reps. So on prep, that's excellent. I was getting some really good form, strict, and stopping at the bottom. So I'll drop in weight and hit one more set. So for my back days, right now I have 3 workouts that I'm rotating between. I only have a pulling movement in one of them on my back days. If I'm pulling every 4 days, like how my program rotates, I would just get way too beat up, especially having a quad day and a hamstring day that I'm doing either stiff legs or something lower back involved. So I'll just have just 1 day out of the 3 where I'll do rack pulls. So it's like about every 2 weeks I'll rotate back to it. So I finished rack pulls, hit a set of 9, drop back in weight, hit 11 reps. Now I'm going to move on to 2 movements to really hit the lats and get some good stretch as well. So I do a bilateral dumbbell row into a standing cable pullover. With this superset, I like doing a rowing movement that has a good contraction, and then going into like a good stretching movement like a cable pullover. on the bilateral rows. I like doing them after rack pulls because the rack pulls are so taxing on the lower back. I don't like a lot of my other back movements to have a lot of lower back involvement. So laying on the bench with the bilateral row, of course it takes a lot of strain off the lower back. Just try to keep the upper chest in it. And the motion's almost like almost a pendulum. So arms hang straight down, I pull them back to the hips. So it is a good natural range of motion for the lat, opposed with a normal row, you're just rowing straight up and down and you use a lot of bicep. So this one is a lot more challenging. You use a lot less weight than you would in a normal row. Just try to hit like 12 reps in the first set and then just keep the same weight and drop reps every time. So on the cable pullover, try to get the most range possible. So keep starting with your arms up by the ears almost, pulling the bar all the way down to the hips. Idea is trying to get that elbow as close to the body as possible. Keeping the chest up is a big thing with it. As you come down, a lot of people want to round the shoulders over and it takes a lot of the lat out of it and you won't feel it. So as you come down, you really want to pull the chest up, which in turn is retracting and depressing the scapula. Wrapped up back with the rows and the pullovers. Moving on to rear delts. Actually, this is the first day I'm going to try this. I'm using an incline bench and a cable station and just doing a rear delt fly. But I think it's really good because it's going to keep torso swing out of it. I can really rest my chest on it. And also with the cables, you get good tension throughout the full range of motion, which is ideal, which is what you want. So I'll just do 3 sets here. Try to hit like 15 reps in the first set and stick with the same weight. And as I hit failure with each subsequent set, the reps are going to drop down. So for training rear delts, it's a little small muscle, but the best way to get to function is to make sure when you're doing these flies is that the arm and the body are at 9 degrees. Once that elbow starts dropping down closer to the body, you can start bringing more of your teres major into it, and you'll start noticing you're able to do more weight. Rear delt's not very big, so you shouldn't be able to do a lot of weight with it. So when you're looking at the video, you want to make sure that from your elbow to shoulder to hip is at 9 degrees, and you don't want your hands turning up. See a lot of people doing bent over rear delt flies, and they're leading with their hands, and their palms are up as they're doing it. So ideally, your pinky should be leading and up along with the elbow. Another thing too about the movement is the last bit of it. Your rear delt shouldn't, how do I want to say it? To really isolate the rear delt, you should try to limit scapular retraction. So the very last part of the movement, it's a lot of trap. You'll have to use your scapula to move the rest of the way. So you shouldn't be coming back more than flush with the back. You'll see that when I'm trying to stop it. There's going to be some shoulder blade movement. It's very hard not to be, but you really want to try to limit it and leave your shoulders in protraction, spread out across the back, and not let them retract. So that's it for rear delts. I'm just doing 3 sets a day. Overall back volume is already high just from the rack pulls. It's just a lot of work that goes into those. If you calculate the total volume for the workout, that would send it really high. So my exercise amount and the amount of sets I'm going to do is just cut back because of that volume that's in that exercise alone. So I'm going to move on and go to biceps now. City dumbbell curls, I leave my hands supinated, and I don't want to bring a lot of my brachial radialis into it. So just try to keep it stricter on the biceps and keep my elbow locked in place. So I don't want that elbow traveling forward into shoulder flexion and bringing my shoulders into the movement. So it's just pivoting at the elbow. That's all we're doing here. Keep it strict. Stay with 3 sets here. So I'll hit 10 to 12 reps in the first one and stay the same weight, and reps will drop down with subsequent sets. I'm gonna move on to preacher curl now. With training buys, I like working through different elbow positions, so hitting something with elbows at their side, or you can hit something with elbows back, like an incline bench, then also a preacher curl. Just changing tension throughout the range of motion to get the most strength built throughout the whole entire aspect of the range of motion. So I'll just do 2 working sets here. Try to hit something a little bit higher rep, 15 to 20 reps. Alright, that wrapped up the back workout for the day. Alright, that wraps up my 10-week update and a training. For everyone that's been following along and leaving comments and enjoying the content, I really appreciate it. Any feedback you give, I really value it, and it just keeps me pushing to do these more. And you know, if there's ever any questions for me or Matt, it's always something good that we can address. Just leave it below in the comment section. Also, I want to tell y'all, if you're not following me on IG, on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'm going to consistently be doing an IG live, and I'll post a topic on Tuesdays, and y'all can submit some questions regarding that. And even during it, if I might open it up just to any other questions, so just to give y'all more content and more of me. So please, if you haven't, subscribe, like the video, and we'll see you next week.